I'm Anthony Mangano, and today on City of Churches, we made our very first trip to the Bronx. And here we are at Our Lady of Mount Carmel Church in the Bronx with Father Jonathan Morris. Father, I'm going to go like this to you because I'm a little under the weather.
No problem.
Thank you so much for inviting us to your church. Now, I know we're in the rectory here, which is a little different than we usually do when we go inside the church, which I know we're going to go in a little while. But there's a lot of work going on there. The church is going through a renovation. So first of all, I want to thank you for inviting us here.
It's a pleasure to have you. And you're not only in the Bronx, you're in the Bronx.
The Bronx.
Okay, you got to say it well. Okay?
The Bronx.
And secondly, you're in the church, or we will be in the church, that was known for a long time, and still by many people today, as the Cathedral of the Bronx.
I didn't know that.
Because just by its own beauty and by its size and what it meant to the huge Italian immigrant population that built this church in the early 1900s.
Is the area still mostly Italian?
The answer is yes. That's the official answer.
I like that answer. You're very quick. Like that, you came right back.
I say that half jokingly. Certainly, this is a national Italian parish, and there's a great Italian presence in this neighborhood. The restaurants on Arthur Avenue, so we're right on 187th here in Arthur Avenue, Belmont, Arthur Avenue, and the restaurants are really booming, and they're some of the best restaurants, I think, in all of New York City.
I've eaten here a few times, and I do agree.
That sounds like a confession.
I was a kid, and I did a film called The Idol Maker here on Arthur Avenue. I was a kid.
Wow.
About the late, great Bob Marcucci and Fabian and Frankie Avalon. And I got my first experience of the Bronx back then, because I'm a Brooklyn boy. You know the rivalry.
We're happy to let you visit.
It's okay. I got a pass just for the...
No, you get to go home afterwards.
I get to go home. Look,
yes.
It's like Chaz Palminteri's a Bronx Tale. You lock the door. Now you just can't leave.
That's right. You're welcome to visit. You know, I mentioned that this is certainly very, very Italian still, and we're preserving that, all of the traditions, the culture, the religious traditions. But at the same time, we recognize that the residents of the area really have changed. And that's to the great success of many of the Italians who have moved on, who have done great things for themselves, who still come back here to eat, to enjoy themselves, to remember old times. But then the residents now are mostly new immigrant communities. You have from Latin America, from Mexico, and from so many places, so many different countries who are here.
Tell us about the founder of this church.
The founder was actually an Irish guy who studied Italian in Rome. And he was up at St. Philip Neri Church at 202nd and the Grand Concourse, which is about 15 blocks away from here. It's a long way. And the Italians came to the Belmont area and would have to walk up to that church. And they did. They were willing to do it. They went in huge numbers. And finally, a committee of lay people came together and petitioned Father Burke, who became Monsignor Burke, to start a mission church here in the Belmont area. And together with Father Cafuzzi, who became known as the co-founder of this church, they started in a little tiny storefront church, and then they built this magnificent church. Many of them were so poor. Many of them had their children going off to war, fighting for the United States, and here they were paying for this church. It says what we should be able to do now. Very different times. But if we love our church, why can't we not only rebuild, but to really renew the ministry? And that's what we're trying to do.
I think you're off to a great start. I really do.
It's just a start.
It's a start. I really believe so, what you're doing. Oh, by the way, since you were speaking about an Irishman who studied Italian, I understand that you're the first what?
Don't tell anybody this, but even though I like Italian food way more than Irish food, I'm not Italian.
I understand.
My last name is Morris, and so I'm the first non-Italian pastor of Our Lady of Mount Carmel, Bronx, in 100 years. Since, really more than that, since the foundation of the parish with Monsignor Burke. But I had the blessing of studying in Rome. I speak Italian, so I hope we get back after me to all Italian pastors here.
You still have a festival here?
We do.
I saw the San Gennaro Festival.
That's right.
I know there's a
but
little rivalry.
St. Anthony Festival.
That's
Let's be clear.
Because my name's Anthony. I kind of like that.
Exactly.
I named after a great person because I noticed when I was driving over, I saw the streamers out in the street, the lights and stuff, which is kind of cool. Now I know there's a big difference. You know, like they say, people in the Bronx think that this is truly the Little Italy.
Well, we know it is.
Well, they see you got the great answers. I like that.
What's the issue?
There's no issue. Tell us about the church when it was founded.
The parish was founded in 1906, but the parish was built between 1906 and 1917. They started just down the street, a little storefront church. Then they built the lower church, which we call Fatima Chapel. And then they built this magnificent church that we're about to see, finishing it on September 2nd, 1917, which means we're coming up to
years.
September 2nd, 2017. Cardinal Dolan will be here to inaugurate the beautification projects that we've embarked upon, and it's going to be an amazing, amazing time.
Now, has the community contributed to this restoration of the church?
It's been amazing. It's been amazing. Not only the parishioners, I mean, they have given from their need, many of them. You know, both the older Italian residents who are still here, who are still walking up those, you know, five stories in their walk-up apartments, to the whole, you know, immigrant community that we have with us. Everybody has given, but then also the merchants in the neighborhood have given more than I think they've given in a long time. I've put them, you know, say, listen, do we want this church to be here for another 100 years? And they've said yes, and they've put where their money where their mouth is. And we're coming up, it's going to be about a $2.6 million renovation from the outside, which is already finished, which was sealing the whole church, sealing all the windows, the roof, making sure that it's in great condition on the outside. Now we're going in on the inside, and I think it's going to be magnificent for the community.
I think it's a great honor that the community contributed in such a way to preserve the church. And to contribute it, and like you said, to want it for another 100 years, because I like, you know, being Italian, I'm also Polish-German, but when I walk down the streets, it's like, I like that feeling, you know, with the restaurants and all that. It has that new but old feel to it. It's a neighborhood.
It's old school neighborhood.
Were there any renovations over the course of 100 years? Because the reason why I asked that is because so many churches have had accidental fires. You know, you hear these stories, roofs burned down. And I noticed that your roof is flat now. And most churches look like kind of pitched, which is definitely different architectural design.
That would be the Romanesque influence of the, you know, the flat roof. But when we look at what's happened in these 100 years, we've gone through some tough times. The church burned down completely in the mid-1930s.
You see?
It was rebuilt, and many pastors have done a great job throughout these last, you know, 70, 80 years since then, in which they've been able to keep it up. But it's an old church, and sometimes you have to go deep, and what we're doing right now is removing all of the pews, putting in a new floor, doing a lot of upkeep, and then even restoration, serious restoration of some of the beautiful frescoes, murals that we have.
Father, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to go inside Our Lady of Mount Carmel and show our audience what a beautiful church this is and how great it's going to be when the restorations are done. So we'll be right back. You know, in a previous episode, we visited Old St. Patrick's Cathedral in Manhattan's Little Italy. See, but up here in the Bronx, the residents here believe that this is the true Little Italy because of the generations that lived here for over 100 years. Waves out of hand. See that sign? It says Belmont Avenue because this area of the Bronx is named Belmont. Now in the 1950s, a group of doo-wop singers got together and they loved this area so much that they named themselves the Belmonts. That's right, Dion and the Belmonts. And the world knows the hits that they had. They had Where and When, Teenager in Love, and of course Dion's The Wanderer and Run Around Sue. Now everybody here in the Bronx knows them. They had really great hits.
Each time I have a quarrel, it almost breaks my heart. I'm so afraid that we will have to part. Each night I ask the stars above, why must I be a teenager in love? I cried a tear.
I was born in Bronx, New York City. Baptized and confirmed in Mount Carmel Catholic Church in like Little Italy section of the Fordham section, the Belmont section of the Bronx. Good food, great people, it's just great area. Great fun.
I know I'm loving you.
Well, here we are on the corner of Arthur Avenue, the famous Arthur Avenue, and 187th Street. Now, this is the heart of the Bronx's Little Italy. Now, as you can see with the traffic going by, they painted the Italian flag right here in the middle of the intersection. I mean, this is really a great area. Generations have been here, and they've got such great shops and places to eat. If you look around, it's really amazing. Hi, you guys. See? Tourists, everybody comes here. Hi.
Don't forget about the best pizza right there.
There you go. Well, we're back and we're inside Our Lady of Mount Carmel Church, and as you can see, there's a lot of construction going on. Hey, you doing, guy? See, he's one of the workers here, Father. This is absolutely breathtaking, and it's not even close to what it's going to be. I mean, the pews are out, which, like you were saying before, it does show how beautiful the church was. You were saying to me off camera that in Italy, there are no pews, right?
You think of the major basilicas in Rome, for example. You walk in, there are no pews. They set up chairs when there's a liturgical service that's going to take place. But you get to see the beauty of the church as it was built without pews. And it looks bigger, right? And you also just feel the sacredness of the place.
You know, it's amazing too. You hear the way they built it, the acoustics, that because back then there really weren't any microphones. I'm sure it's changed, but you can hear my voice will travel all the way to the back, which was great for the pastors back then.
The best place acoustically, because we've done a lot of study on this because we're also having our organs refurbished, the perfect space to preach, to talk, is from the center of the sanctuary. The dome catches the voice and it pushes it out. You do not need microphones in this very large church.
And that was all planned. Someone
was.
thought of that. That's the human mind came into
And
that.
they knew how to execute the plan, which
It's
is
amazing what you can do. It really is. I never doubt anything anybody can, when they put their mind to something, they can do it, and it shows. I could see where you're going to have to repaint. The picture alone is beautiful.
We're doing this in a very serious way. We're not going to just have somebody come in, touch up. For years, thanks be to God, they did what they could to keep it from this beautiful mural from falling down by painting it, but the artists tell us now that it was overpainted and they put a lot of things up there that shouldn't have been put up there. What we're going to try to do is bring it back to the original colors, and this is going to be a big part of the budget, but we think it's worth it. This is Our Lady of Mount Carmel in the Bronx. This is the mural of Our Lady of Mount Carmel, and we want it to be a focal point. We're also going to be able to put LED lighting around the bottom of this mural and illuminate it, which is going to be an amazing, I think, element to the restoration.
Well, you know, you were talking to me before about this being brought out, the altar,
Yes.
and this is going to be removed.
Look at it.
I know.
You should not have carpet in this unbelievable church, right? There's marble, there's terrazzo, but let me tell you why they did it, and it's with good reason. After the Second Vatican Council, of course, there was not Mass at the high altar anymore with the priest facing the altar and his back to the people. Rather, the altar came out, and they brought it out to be closer to the people. But this thing is a monstrosity, in my opinion.
I can understand that.
What we're going to do is trying to keep using the same materials, so the marble and the terrazzo, and we're going to extend the sanctuary, but the altar will be at the same level as everything else, which will be very helpful for the sight lines, but also just to bring it back to more like what it was.
I look around, I'm looking at the crucifix. That's a beautiful crucifix too.
We don't know the exact year that it came, but it's a mission cross. So many churches, so many Italian churches and other churches have mission crosses that were brought to the church, and there's such devotion. I actually proposed to the people that it be brought back to the original place, which was into the baptistry, and the people said, no, we want to be able to adore that crucifix. We want to be able to come here and pray in front of it. And so, although this is a restoration, we're not rebuilding, restoration, and I thought maybe we should put it back to where it originally was, it's the devotion of the people that says, in 2017, that cross has been so important to us over the years, we want to keep it where it is.
I'm a big fan of the stained glass windows. You have the ones down here are absolutely breathtaking. Yes. Look at Mary and Jesus and Joseph right there in that window right there. That's beautiful. The purples, the blues. But you have them around and they're just so, like, there's Christ over there with the apostles on the water. Like I say, it tells the story of everything coming to life. Like, you could actually sit in here, truthfully, if you just sat in here and just prayed or just looked, you can actually see how things developed and how the Bible translates.
Well, just think about it. Many of the Italian immigrants who came over came when they were very young, 7, 8, 9 years old, 10, went right to work. Many of them were not educated beyond a few grades. This is catechesis. This is religious education. You don't have to read a book to understand pictures of our faith. And thank God they've been preserved over the years, and they're in great shape. And I think they tell the story of the gospel in a way that I couldn't do preaching, that's for sure.
Well, your Stations of the Cross are almost like 3D.
They are 3D.
They are 3D.
They are.
Well, then I was right on the money here. I'm learning. It's as if Christ is coming out of the picture at you.
And we'll be in this restoration, we'll be using the technology that is available today, LED lighting on these columns, and there will be light on each one of these stations. You won't notice that there's any lights anywhere. They're flipped on, and imagine during Lent when these Stations of the Cross are lit up, they are going to invite you to pray.
We were talking before about the ceiling, that it's basically flat. It's not pitched like a lot of other churches, and you said that was because it was very Romanesque?
Yeah, that's a Romanesque style of the roof is, not everything else. You see some kind of neo-Gothic as well as Romanesque elements to this church, right, the arches. And first of all, thank God the roof itself on the exterior is pitched.
Okay, so
nobody wants a flat roof.
So
right?
it's basically this, and then I have to look outside. So
That's right. It's
like
pitched on top. It can have a false ceiling or false roof, but it's gorgeous. We're also going to be able to put LED lights up. It looks like a trough right above. If you look at the Latin Ave Maria here, right above that there's a trough. That actually had fluorescent bulbs in there at one point, with the hope that it would light up the ceiling. But imagine, pastors do not want to change fluorescent bulbs every 6 months that are that high, right? And so we're going to be able to use LED lighting that will not have to be changed for 15, 20 years. We're going to be able to illuminate this roof, and that is going to be spectacular.
I see the pictures of all the saints in the crest, I guess you would call it. They'll be illuminated too, so people see that.
It'll be amazing.
And we were talking about the difference between the stained glass windows on this level and then this up there. It's a little different. I can't see totally, but they're definitely a little different.
My guess, I could be wrong on that, is that they ran out of money.
It could be.
They are gorgeous, but these ones down here are obviously more ornate and spectacular. I think they're beautiful up there, but they're simpler.
I see the different levels here, the balcony and then the third. Although now basically that fills up more of the congregation on the second level?
Yes, so this is one of the few churches I've seen with these two levels of the top one is with the major organ, and that would be the kind of choir loft singing with the organ. And then below this would just be for the overflow crowd.
Oh, wow.
And hopefully...
Well, when you were saying you had 40,000 people at one point back then, I can imagine what these churches was like. It was a standing room only.
They had 3 different locations for masses on the quarter hour. So there was a mass at 10 o'clock, there was a mass at 10:15 someplace else, then there was a mass at 10:30 someplace else.
There's no way you could accommodate, to accommodate that many people. I noticed the organs up there. Now, is that going through a renovation process?
So we have 2 very significant organs in this church, and the oldest one, and we're beginning with the oldest one, was up in, it's called the sanctuary organ. And it has now been taken out piece by piece by a wonderful company, Charles Kegg Organ Company in Ohio, and it's being refurbished this summer. It's a big project. That alone is $300,000. And then the one up top will be another $750,000. We're not going to do that in this phase because we don't have the money, but we're trying to make sure that we have an organ to worship with. Who cares about a beautiful museum if there's no worship, if there's no people? We're trying to restore this, but also make it a place where today in 2017, people can feel welcome and that people can worship God in the best way possible.
And the sound will be filtered through the new system?
It's going to be a real organ. It's going to be...
Well, like you were saying, see, now it makes sense to me because you had said when they designed this that the best point to project would be up there, so the organ, when it's playing, will project right to the back.
Exactly.
Now, you're going to be putting in new pews. We're putting the old ones back.
The old one's back.
And we're going to be putting in a new floor in, I would assume.
Yes. But we're going to keep the same terrazzo,
Okay.
which will not be easy to do. But this terrazzo is very old, and we think, how many people walked up this aisle to get married? How many people walked up this aisle for a funeral of a loved one? We're going to preserve the terrazzo. We're going to put an all new hardwood floor in here because this is 12 by 12 tile. Underneath that is 9 by 9 asbestos tile that needs to be removed.
What would you say your favorite artifact in here is? The whole church, to me, is amazing. What would you say is your most?
It's not really an artifact, it's the tabernacle.
The tabernacle?
Because that's what, every day when I come in here, this is why I'm here. I'm not in here for a museum. If everything else here doesn't help me worship Jesus in the tabernacle, then I'm in the wrong place. That's what we're here for. It's the tabernacle.
Well, that's amazing. Well, Father, I want to thank you for showing us the renovation process. We came back in here because it's a little noisy, there's scaffolding going on, and I just want to say, we're going to go like this time because I'm still not feeling that great. Thanking you for inviting City of Churches to Our Lady of Mount Carmel here in the Bronx.
I hope you don't love it so much that you leave Brooklyn.
No, I don't know if I'll leave Brooklyn, but I'm going to have to come here and have some dinner again and come with my wife and everything like that. I understand you have a website.
We do.
We're going to put it up on the screen so that the viewers can see and they can inquire about this beautiful church, because I would say to our viewers, you should come here and see the church and spend a day walking through this neighborhood and have a nice meal on Arthur Avenue, which is primo, one of the best Italian places to eat. So that's it for this episode. Thank you so much for watching. I want to thank Father Morris for bringing us here. And you can follow us on our website, netnewyork.tv, or you can follow us on Facebook or Twitter, or write into us at City of Churches, 1712 10th Avenue, Brooklyn, New York, 11215. Until next time, I'm Anthony Mangano. Thanks so much for watching, and God bless you. Father.